Hello, welcome. Glad you're back to quite possibly the best series we've ever done in terms of what you guys like and stuff. So I'm glad this has been like a very helpful series for you guys, so I decided I'd start covering more broad topics and giving you some advice on that. The Vistani is what we're going to be talking about today, but before we do, we have a sponsor. It's the sub box. Isn't that sub button so fucking sexy looking? Look at it. Look at this graph. It is showing me that a large percentage of our concurring viewers are not subscribed to our channel, which makes me very sad. You don't want to make me sad, do you? Can you please subscribe? Thank you. Okay, now we can go back with the video now that you've clicked the subscribe button, which you totally have. If you haven't and you're lying to me, then I'm gonna, I don't know, I don't have any power over you. I'm just a guy on the internet. Vistani, that's what we're talking about. So, the Vistani people are, in short, a bunch of lovely, happy-go-lucky outsiders to Barovia in comparison to the very sad people of the, you know, Vallaki and Kretsk and the village of Barovia. They're all very depressed, and the Vistani just chill on the outside of the settlements like, ha ha ha, nothing's wrong, we're great. Because they have the right to be, or at least in the eyes of them and Strahd von Zarovich. There's a lot of lore behind the Vistani, what they're doing there, their relationship to Strahd, which I will not go deep into, because it's not immensely important. You can tell this to your players and they'll be like, well, now we know more about how vain Strahd is, and sure, he thanks people who helps him. The Vistani are lovely people. They make things, they do things, they share fortune with friends. They're just very nice, lovely gypsy people. Except a few. Some of them can be a little bit evil-ish. I play Vistani as more neutral. The module is leaning towards a more neutral evil take to them. I don't agree with that. Now, there's a lot of different elements to the Vistani. I'm going to tell you generally how I use them. The Vistani was sometimes how I just justified like something in the story going whack. For example, we had 2 players leave our campaign around the same time. It was kind of foreshadowed over the next few weeks. One player was kind of not showing up as much because they had been losing sleep. Their time zone meant that they had to wake up at like 6 to play, etc, etc. And they both had to dip out at the same time. So I justified it with the Vistani coming and finding one of the characters' mothers, and the other went for like a bodyguard duty sort of thing. And the Vistani took them and then murdered them, because that was Strahd's wish. He did not want them there. They were both Aasimar. They were both paladins and divine, oh no, one of them was a wild magic sorcerer. But Aasimar. Strahd was like, no, I don't want those guys. Which is kind of how I justified it. Sometimes you can bend the rules of what the characters want and don't want for the sake of making your narrative more cohesive and making things more genuine, other than just, well, they're not here now. You know, they're gone. I think that the Vistani are a very useful tool because they are the one thing that isn't undead that Strahd can just spam having. You can throw 8 billion zombies at the party and they'll be like, yeah, sure, whatever. And Vistani are no different. There are enough in this campaign where you could reason an entire army of them being in Strahd's service. Or not service, but at least they're obligated to help him in a way, because kind of like he's been helping them. It's a pact, if you will. And I definitely use the Vistani to help Strahd in a lot of ways. Aragal, the assassin, quite possibly the strongest Vistani in the game, I used to kind of like, there was a big fight going on with some cultists in Vallaki and whatever, and as the party were starting to win, Aragal just one-shot the wizard just from behind, and he wasn't in the fight before that. And then was like, all right, I've done my business, and was like, well, you know, the party's preoccupied now, I've done my job, I'm leaving. Vistani aren't like murderous psychopaths. There's maybe one murderous psychopath among them. But yeah, that's kind of how I've generally played them, used them, messed around with them. They can also be used to trade with the party in terms of backstory information. They could give the party some extra resources. I wouldn't doubt that Vistani have a bunch of magic items lying around everywhere, as well as a buttload of money. And the party might have a different way to approach things if they realise that the Vistani is stinking fucking rich. They might try and steal it, which is generally what they should do. Or they can try and negotiate for it, barter for it, maybe try and slaughter the entirety of the Serpul camp, or at least they've got Madame Eva on their side, which we'll talk about in a sec. But yeah, I use the Vistani for a couple key plot points as well. They are fully cohesive servants of Strahd that can think tactfully and smart definitely... His various vampire spawn are the closest you're going to get to that. In terms of just regular minions that you can throw out. I've made the Vistani do a lot of smart stuff. They had got in a fight with the party once and they were on an uphill climb. The party was like having to go up a hill slowly while the Vistani just rained arrows on them. It was kind of like that sort of situation. And they had a bit of tact around it, and when they started getting close they had boulders and they just pushed them over. Stuff like that. And they also had alchemist fire on them. Definitely mess around with a lot of the tools that, you know, the player's handbook gives you. Oil, like ink, tinder boxes, stuff like that. It's fun. It's fun to mess around with that sort of stuff. It makes the Vistani seem more like practical, because they are practical people. They're craftsmen in many ways. Some of them are musicians and the like, but most of them have careers in stuff like woodwork or masonry, stuff like that. They're generally a group of pretty smart people. Play them like that. Some people throw the Vistani to the wayside sometimes. I have yet to explore a lot of the Vistani camp near Gollaglee because my players had no reason to go there. They had heard of the fake potions that you could buy from there to get out of Barovia, which doesn't work. They're scamming you. But the party didn't feel interested in going there because once they were around the area, they felt obliged to solve this problem because most of the party were various variants of good, if you will. They were all good, pretty much. I don't think there was a single person in that party who wasn't good. No, there was a lawful neutral guy, but they still felt a duty to, you know, save the world. But there's other ways that you can kind of entice them to go there. For one, in the book, there's like 8 different references to Vistani going like, you should speak to Madam Eva. She will tell you your fortune, because the module really fucking wants the party to go and have their fortune told. It's kind of like a very key component, and I've talked about the fortune telling and stuff like that, and where to put them, what to do with them and stuff like that. Go check out that video. I don't know if it was a specific video where I talked about the cards, but I have talked about them before, so go check that out. How about we talk about that card reading situation? The party in no way is obligated to go and have their fortunes read. The module recommends that you already kind of like do the fortune reading and then redo it and like change things the second time around as you do it. I like to pre-plan my fortune tellings, and therefore it makes this easy. If the party never go to meet Madam Eva, they still have all of their cards drawn and ready. It just means that they're probably not going to have the hooks required to go to the places they need to go. So yeah, that's kind of like the general consensus of when to use it and stuff like that. Often, to get their fortune read, there's 2 ways. There's Esmeralda Davenir. She pops up in a lot of places in the module and stuff like that, and she is a, you know, key character in the story of Curse of Strahd, in my opinion, if you make it that way. And she can also do a fortune reading for the party. It's unlikely that they will get one, because they're not going to ask, hey, do you have Taraka cards on you? And she's like, why, yes I do. Do you want your fortunes reading? And they're like, oh boy, do I? That doesn't happen that much. So you're going to probably have to rely on word of mouth of the Vistani to go and like tell the party to meet Madam Eva. And if they do, they're going to be in for a surprise. I played Madam Eva as a typical, you know, proper traveler queen, if you will. She's got the hut with every little magical thing inside. I specified that there were like dancing lights going around the room as well for the sake of immersion and stuff like that when they'd met her. There is a part where she mentions to each of the party members something about them and their past and how they're going, or like a progress measure, something like that, which is pretty cool. I would more recommend diving a little bit more into the character's psyche other than their backstory. Don't mention, how's your dad doing? Maybe think about like, do you really think what you're doing is just? Stuff like that. I don't know. It could definitely make the party think. They'd all form their own opinions of Madame Eva after those statements. But what they must be certain on is that shit, she knows stuff. If they say that. And as a DM, you can pull a lot of strings. I would recommend maybe holding off on like forcing the party to go and get their card readings done. I did that. It was near the start of the campaign, and now I regretted doing it, because if I did it later, I might have had more of a gauge to decide where some of the key things were, what the party would respond to. I was playing with an entirely new group, so I wasn't fully sure on that. But Madame Eva, very curious character. She does the card reading for them. She is also a 15th or 16th level cleric, which is very crazy powerful. So yeah, she could kick the party's ass, even though she does not have the constitution to take like anything. But hey, she exists. I don't think many people are going to be running her for combat, but she's there. So in terms of some of Madame Eva's like relations to the story, I think it's pretty interesting that she is kind of on a mission to usher the party to become the next in line and maybe try and push for one of them ruling Barovia instead. She does the fortune telling to guide the party to eventually kill Strahd. She's not doing that just for the fun of it. She wants Strahd dead because then the dark powers can be, you know, released. That's generally how I played her. So Madame Eva, she wants the party to win. She doesn't really want Strahd around per se. At least in terms of how I'm interpreting it. No one really knows what Madame Eva wants except Madame Eva, so definitely don't communicate to the party what Madame Eva wants. Keep that a secret so that they can theorize themselves if they try to ask, dodge around it, stuff like that. She feels comfortable where she is. She is the only other person in Barovia who could be seen to usurp Strahd to the dark powers. She don't want to. She can't be asked. She's fine where she is. So she's like, okay, well, let's find the party and see if Strahd likes them and see if any of them are worthy. She doubts that that's a possibility, but is willing to go out of her way to help that possibility. She doesn't want Strahd around because she likes him and knows that Strahd is not having a good time due to where he is in life and how Strahd is just like, I won't fucking die. Strahd is eternally suffering and Madame Eva wants him to be free of that, basically, and wants to find someone else to do it for him. She doesn't know if that's a possibility and she's trying her chance on the party. She might respond more to a generally more evil-seeming character, one who has a bit more ruthlessness to their attitude and shares some of the personality traits with Strahd, perhaps encouraging them to be the one to seek out this particular thing, giving them maybe even an extra clue to perhaps find what they're looking for other than the vague card reading, which sometimes can fully consume the party in trying to figure out what the fuck this old bitch was on about. The Vistani in general have some pretty interesting features that Madame Eva has to a more powerful extent. They can all do curses and evil eyes. In terms of mechanics, they can induce saving throws on creatures, otherwise they get affected by certain status conditions or spell effects and stuff like that. Something else interesting for flavor is that if these sorts of spells fail that come from their curses, they like take damage or they get blinded or they get fucked over and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. It's like a risky cost for trying to cast someone, and also just thematically it works, you know, like Vistani trying to curse people and if it fails they just get it right back in their face sort of thing. It definitely makes it more of a, you can't just spam these curses, it's something that you should plan out and alternate. And Madame Eva can do them with an incredibly high DC, because it's based off the Vistani's wisdom, and she is a big cleric. She has some pretty interesting spells as well. She can cast True Seeing to make sure that the party doesn't kill her. She can cast stuff like divination as well. If the party comes back to them, she might divine their fate, etc, etc. I think it's pretty interesting. She's a very cool character. That's about all I have to say for this Vistani. I might come back to them when I talk about the final boss fight with Strahd, which I definitely want to discuss at some point. It has a lot of things that people seem to miss. I have a lot of recommendations to do with that. So hang on for that sort of episode. I used the Vistani in the final fight. So yeah, and I might discuss like how I use them specifically. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe. If you've got any more recommendations for these sorts of videos, make sure to comment as well, because it really does help us in the long run. If you want a more personal perspective on what I talk about, subscribe to my Patreon. We can talk over there. We can direct message and stuff. And there's also a Discord that you can join if you check out the description. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.